A profuse sweat was forming on the man's forehead. As he felt stuck, he said, "I'm asking nicely, ma'am. We're all going the same way. Just move along." His request went unanswered. Her gaze fell on him, and she intentionally turned away. On the side, another woman snickered. He was a laughing stock. Due to his overflowing schedule, he rarely had time to sit back and relax. During the flight, he hoped to relax and unwind, and he looked forward to a few days of sun and peacefulness. His flight would be far from the peaceful journey he had imagined. Malcolm was shocked when he finally checked in. He had finally boarded his flight to Fort Lauderdale after a long day of meetings and a tiresome journey to the airport. He was surprised to learn that the airline overbooked economy class, and he was offered a complimentary upgrade to first class. How could he be so lucky? Afraid of missing out on the extra legroom and luxurious amenities, Malcolm made his way towards his seat, excited about the prospect of a more comfortable journey. A video clip of him walking to the plane was made. There was excitement and happiness in his eyes. The situation he was about to face could not have been prepared for. Malcolm noticed the cheerful flight attendant announcing that the flight was overbooked as he boarded the plane. It was to Malcolm's delight and surprise that he was upgraded to first class. As he walked down the aisle, a wide smile spread across his face as he imagined the luxurious amenities and extra legroom that awaited. As the boarding line slowly inched forwards, it took a while to say the least. The eager travelers lugged in their luggage as Malcolm watched. While trying to find his designated seat, his excitement quickly faded. Laura stood in the aisle, seemingly unaware of the growing line of passengers behind her. She thought she was all alone on the plane, didn't she? He politely asked her to move aside, explaining that he had to pass, but Laura refused to cooperate. It seemed that she had no concern for her personal space, despite being quite a large woman. There was a man sitting already, and she was practically standing on him. A twisted expression appeared on his face as he tried to make his escape. In the overhead compartment, people were packing luggage, so Malcolm tried to find another way. A rather large woman named Laura blocked Malcolm's path through the narrow aisle of the plane. Her bulging suitcase made her appear to be completely oblivious to the inconvenience she was causing. An exhausted sigh escaped Malcolm's lips. Malcolm did not seem to be noticed by other passengers. It felt like they ignored him intentionally. Is there any way that this rude woman didn't annoy them? In spite of Malcolm's polite requests, she refused to move aside, clearly unwilling to accommodate him. Pretending not to hear him, she remained silent. Seeing his surroundings, Malcolm began to feel frustrated. Other passengers' stares intensified his anxiety. "Please, ma'am, you've been standing put for over 10 minutes now. Please move," Malcolm pleaded with her. Laura refused to budge once more, even when he apologized for causing a scene. He was further frustrated by her lack of concern for his predicament. Taking a deep breath, Malcolm decided to adopt a more patient approach. Laura remained obstinate, unwilling to engage in any form of conversation. She was a stubborn woman. The minutes ticked by, and Malcolm's patience began to wear thin. The thought of missing out on his upgraded seat and the comfort it promised gnawed at him. He couldn't understand why Laura was being so stubborn and oblivious to the inconvenience she was causing. Suddenly, an idea struck Malcolm. Instead of trying to persuade Laura directly, he decided to appeal to her sense of empathy. He knelt down beside her and began to describe his excitement about the trip, explaining how important it was for him to have a relaxing journey. He shared personal stories, hoping that by opening up, he could touch her heart. Laura looked at him with a confused look. "What are you trying to do?" Malcolm looked at her with a straight face. "My legs are tired from standing in the same position for so long," he said dryly. Laura scoffed at him and turned back around. She refused to move. What could Malcolm do to be recognized by this obstinate passenger? Growing increasingly frustrated, Malcolm's voice grew louder as he repeated his request. "Excuse me, ma'am. I've been upgraded to first class," he said, hoping that revealing his newfound status might sway her to act more considerately. The surrounding passengers began to take notice, their curious eyes fixated on the unfolding scene. Would they let him pass now? Laura, shocked by Malcolm's statement, finally turned to face him. She had assumed he was just another regular economy passenger, oblivious to his upgrade. Feeling a growing impatience, Malcolm mustered up the courage to address Laura again. "Excuse me," he said, his voice tinged with irritation. "Did you hear me? Are you deaf?" I've been upgraded to first class. I need to get through. You've wasted enough of my time. Laura looked at him and said, I can't move. There are people standing there. Malcolm was at his wit's end. Malcolm persisted, Move it, lady. Come on. Another passenger started recording him shouting. Laura's eyes widened in surprise upon hearing those words. She thought he was just another regular economy passenger. Without offering an apology, she arrogantly replied, Well, I'm not moving. Find another way. Realizing that he wouldn't be able to reason with Laura on his own, Malcolm caught the attention of an air hostess passing by. With a polite but firm tone, he explained the situation and asked for assistance. The air hostess, recognizing the need to diffuse the tension, approached Laura and began to calm her down. After a few minutes of talking, the air hostess managed to convince Laura to make way for Malcolm. Although the issue had been resolved, Malcolm couldn't help but wonder why Laura had been so difficult in the first place. It seemed strange that someone would behave in such a manner over a simple request to move. He felt that she was discriminating against him. With Laura's reluctant cooperation, Malcolm finally made his way to his seat, settling into the plush comfort of first class. It was fancy, but he was already in a bad mood. He tried to put the encounter with Laura out of his mind, hoping to enjoy the remainder of his flight undisturbed. However, the incident had left a lingering sense of unease within him. Malcolm watched as the air hostess ushered large Laura to her seat a few rows back. She was bumping into seated passengers as she walked through the aisle. He shook his head. Other people were also expressing their irritation with the old woman, who clearly seemed very entitled. Who was this rude woman on the plane? Malcolm settled into his first-class seat. He looked at the menu and decided to order a drink to calm down. As he glanced at the front compartment and noticed a small note sticking out. Curiosity getting the better of him, he pulled it out and read the contents. It was from the air hostess who had intervened earlier, and it explained Laura's behavior. The letter read, Please mind Laura. The note read, She is a regular passenger of ours. She flies to Fort Lauderdale to visit her son every weekend. However, she is mentally unstable and requires assistance. Malcolm was confused. He looked around to see if anyone else received a personal note, but he was the only one. Strange, he thought. Malcolm was taken aback by the revelation. He had not expected such a background behind Laura's behavior, but it shed some light on her actions. He couldn't help but feel a mix of sympathy and concern for her. However, a question lingered in his mind. Why would the airline allow mentally unstable passengers to travel unsupervised? Throughout the flight, Malcolm couldn't help but observe Laura discreetly. She seemed restless, occasionally muttering to herself and exhibiting signs of anxiety. He wondered how many times she had traveled alone in this state and how the airline could ensure her safety and the comfort of other passengers. Wasn't there something more the airline could do? As the plane touched down in Fort Lauderdale, Malcolm decided to address his concerns with the airline. He sought out a representative and expressed his unease about allowing mentally unstable individuals to travel without proper supervision. The representative listened attentively and empathized with Malcolm's concerns. She explained that the airline had protocols in place to accommodate passengers with mental health challenges. They offered assistance and support whenever possible, but due to privacy laws, they couldn't disclose personal information or require constant supervision unless explicitly requested by the passenger or a legal guardian. Although Malcolm understood the complexities involved, he couldn't shake off his worries entirely. He hoped that Laura would reach her destination safely and that the airline would continue to review its policies to ensure the well-being of all passengers. What was initially a horrific experience brought about a sense of camaraderie for Malcolm. He felt sorry for Laura and thought of his own mother who lived far away from him. In the days that followed, Malcolm enjoyed his vacation, but his encounter with Laura lingered in his mind. He missed his mother and decided to give her a call. Malcolm told his mother what happened and asked her to join him on holiday so they could spend quality time together. He booked her a ticket. Malcolm was hopeful to make amends as he waited for his mother to arrive.